Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Today's episode starts at the moment that so many women will never forget. That moment that you're told there is no heartbeat. But what happens next? What happens when you leave that appointment? When you're sent home with nothing? No guidance, no resources, no support. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Elizabeth, who shares her experience of an unexpected pregnancy at 41 that ended in a miscarriage at 8 weeks. She opens up about the details that stay with you, the silence, the feeling of walking around knowing your baby is no longer alive, and the loneliness of going home empty-handed. But out of that experience, she's created something powerful, a book designed to sit beside women in that exact moment, offering comfort and a reminder that they are not alone. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Sarah Elizabeth. Do you mind telling us a little about yourself?
Sure. So I live in upstate New York with my husband and three children. My background is clinical social work. I have always had a passion for helping women, connecting with women, and connecting them with places, people, resources, anything that they need. It's been my passion since I went through a pregnancy at a young age. I actually co authored a book called The Journey of a Teenage Mother. And now here I am 30 years later authoring a book about loss. And it's sort of interesting. I feel like they're my two end caps, the beginning of my birthing journey and sort of the end of my journey. But regardless of where I've been in whatever season of life, my passion has just always been to connect, comfort, and work with women.
I love that. I feel like women are such a subset of, a large subset of people that are often ignored.
Mm.
We're just kind of, oh, we just have to go along with everything when we have all of these real issues that affect us, but basically nobody cares.
Yeah,
you know?
no one cares. No one talks about it. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I guess that's a subject for a whole other day.
That's a whole nother podcast, Sarah. A whole nother podcast.
So do you mind talking just a little bit about your loss?
Absolutely. So, my loss was this past June, so about 10 months ago. And we were not trying to have any more children, but we weren't also being super careful not to have any more children. So, surprise, at 41, we were pregnant. And at first, there was complete and utter shock because we had gone so long. My youngest is 11, my oldest is 20. So we were done with diapers, done with all of that. And all of a sudden, we're pregnant. And so there was shock, which then became excitement. And during that beginning period, that first trimester, when you find out and then all of a sudden the sickness sets in, I became increasingly sick. And everyone, my immediate family said, oh, that's a good sign. That's a good sign, right? Because you're feeling the pregnancy. Well, it was a good sign until I was so sick that we realized we had to tell more people because we needed more help. My husband came to me one day and he was like, I have nothing else to tell the kids. They think you're dying. Like, we need to tell them that you're just pregnant. So, long story short, very early in my pregnancy, we shared the news that I was pregnant because we needed help from my parents and friends and family to navigate life. And so everyone knew, and we were okay with it. We were excited. We'd had healthy pregnancies. And in the back of my head, knowing I was 41, I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to dwell on it, but if anything were to happen, that's okay. People know, they'll support me. And so I think when you're quote unquote in that geriatric pregnancy age, you do have those thoughts in the back of your head. So I did have them and I was prepared for them, but at the same time, I wasn't. And so you always hope for the best. You always want to focus on the good stuff. And I was praying, and, my mom, we're all focusing on the good things. And I went to one of my appointments, and the sonographer said, well, the heartbeat was around 60. So it was a little low for where they thought I was. However, we weren't exactly sure of my dating. So I'm like, well, all right. And that's what the sonographer said. Didn't make me worried, didn't have any cause for concern. She said, well, this could be something, that's going to change. Let's just schedule you a week out and see what's happening. So they scheduled me the following week for like 7 a.m. Who does that? Okay, 7 a.m. So 7 a.m., no one in my world could come with me. So I go by myself, and the sonographer looked as if she already knew. She didn't have that like joyful, happy look that she had previously. And I thought that was really weird because I'm a really joyful, happy person, and she wasn't matching me. And so immediately I felt this like, ugh, feeling. And so we go in, she does the ultrasound, you're waiting in the room, she's being quiet, she's doing all the things. And this room, I'll never forget. It was dark. She had these little fairy lights, trying to make a calm. You don't forget these things. You don't forget those moments. And it was the only comfort I think that I had that entire day was that dimly lit room and those little sparkle fairy lights. She eventually says, "I'm so sorry. Like I'm not finding a heartbeat." And I went into shock where you don't really feel anything at first because I didn't really know how to feel. And I kind of sat there and she talked. I don't know what she said. She was talking to me. All I remember was, there were no doctors there. I'd have to wait for about an hour if I wanted to talk to a doctor. Of course I wanted to talk to a doctor. I knew that much. So I'm like, yes, I'll wait. And she looked at me and she said, I'm so sorry. I know this was a surprise, but it was a welcome surprise. And she looked at me and she went to give me a hug. And in that moment, when she hugged me, it suddenly became very real. That contact from one mom to another, I felt the realness. And that's when I broke down. And then when I went to release from the hug, she kept hugging me. It was one of those hugs where she just didn't stop. And that was so meaningful in that moment because that's the moment that it became real. And so I waited. They led me to this empty doctor's office. I'm in this room, white walls. I explain it, in the book that I just wrote, but it's like I was in a room that was not set up for grief. I was in a room that was set up for joy and pregnancy and birth, and it was not meant for me. And here I was like ruffling through the pamphlets. I'm like, somewhere in here, there's got to be something on loss. Somewhere in here, there has to be something on grief, miscarriage. There was nothing. And in my book, I talk about it. I'll never forget, there was this huge 3D uterus sitting next to me with an IUD in it. And I wanted to throw it across the room. I'm like, I don't need to be looking at you right now, It was just all these things, and none of it applied to me. And I had 1 hour of just me and my thoughts and my grief. And in that moment, I just wish there had been something there to look at or listen to or talk to, right? And so eventually the doctor came in, and she spoke to me. She shared with me the medical things that I needed to know. And she looked at me and she said, Sarah Elizabeth, miscarriages, unfortunately, they happen all the time, but women just don't talk about it. For some reason, they just don't. And in that moment, I looked at her, and in my head, I said to myself, well, I'm going to talk about it. It's time to talk about it. And I left that day feeling so alone, so empty. They didn't give me anything. They didn't give me resources. They didn't give me like anything. I literally went home empty handed. And I think the biggest emotion that I felt that day was this fear and anxiety of what happens next. I think we all experience it differently. And for some, it's, that overwhelming sadness, which originally I felt. But once I got home, it was like, oh my gosh, like, what happens now? You hear stories, I'd had friends that had had miscarriages, and I'd heard horror stories, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm alone. You feel completely isolated. And that was, I think, the most difficult part for me was coming home and not knowing what was next and feeling completely isolated. And that is what led me to share my story. And then as soon as I shared my story on social media, I got hundreds of responses from women all across the nation that shared similar stories. And that's when I knew it needed to be a book, is that we needed to talk about it and we needed to come together. So that is the beginning of my story. And the rest of the story is through my healing, through this book, I've been able to create something that can now sit in doctors' offices and go home with women that are immediately, in that moment experiencing grief and loss.
Yeah, I mean, for something that happens to so many women, how could there be nothing,
Yeah.
nothing in that room, nothing that they could give you even outside of that room, a piece of paper with something on it. I mean, instead
Mhm.
of just, I'm sorry, this happens.
Yeah.
Come back if you have complications.
Yeah, it was mind boggling. I remember when I had my babies, they mailed me something, congratulations. And I thought there was a moment when I was leaving that I had to go to the desk, right, to check out. And the woman at the desk she slid over a paper, like an envelope. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just like a letter, something that they already have typed up and already signed, just, we're so sorry. I'm thinking, how nice of them. I get to the car and it was my bill.
Thanks.
How much does it take to put a little note on the computer that pops up when I check out that says loss or miscarriage or, something? You would think, right? You would think that there
Yeah.
would be something. And I don't know if I was only 8 weeks pregnant. I don't know if that's why. I don't know if offices only give things at certain time frames, but it's a loss either way. And I want every woman, no matter how far along she is, to be seen.
Yeah, and then yeah, to get the bill on top of all of it, you're
To get the
like,
bill. I mean,
I
really?
mean, I'm over here like trying to keep from falling apart right in front of you, and now
Mhm.
you're just gonna add on to that. So,
Yeah, I mean, put that in the mail. Like,
yeah.
nobody needs that right now. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
I know you didn't mention it here, but in the book you talk about how it was a missed miscarriage.
Yes.
Was that anything you were ever familiar with? I mean, since you didn't have like the typical
Right.
miscarriage signs.
It was a shock. I didn't know. Here I am. I'm 40 years old, 41 years old. You think you know your body. And I had no idea that your body could still feel pregnant and think it's pregnant and not be pregnant. And to some people listening, they might be like, well, yeah, obviously, but no, I had no clue, no clue. And so I thought that I was in the safe zone. I wasn't bleeding. I still felt pregnant. My boobs hurt. Like I had all the symptoms. I felt so sick. And I continued to feel sick for 2 weeks following that news. My body thought it was pregnant until I had the DNC. And for those 2 weeks, I literally felt like a human tomb. And that was that was so incredibly hard. I can't describe even that feeling of knowing that you're walking around and your baby is not alive inside of you. Nobody warned me that that was a thing. Nobody warned me what to expect, how to feel. And I just kept waiting for my body to get the message, and it never did. I had no idea. And I was so scared about what was going to happen next every day. So, on top of just grieving the loss and then feeling like a tomb, I'm also at the same time terrified of what my body is going to do next. What am I going to feel? What am I going to see? Who's going to be home? What if it goes wrong? there's so many things and you're alone. And so I remember, telling my husband, listen, I want to do this as naturally as possible. That was my first thought. I want to do this as naturally as possible. So I had him go to Target and get like little fairy lights. And I had him put them all around the bathroom. I was like, if I'm going to be bleeding to death in the bathroom, I want it to at least be peaceful. This is what's going through my mind. Like, if I'm, if I'm going to die, I want to at least be at peace. You don't even realize you're thinking these things, but you don't know. You don't know what to expect. And so my brain was automatically going to like worst case scenario because nobody was telling me anything. Finally, I went back to the doctor and said, listen, nothing is happening. I really can't handle this anymore. And so she scheduled me for a DNC. And it was about 24 hours later that I started to feel some of the pregnancy symptoms going away. But it took about a week in total for my body to really understand that there wasn't a baby anymore. So not only are you emotionally working through it, but physically, you've got all those reminders that nobody talks about. And through this book, through getting all these stories from other women, I recognize now so many of us went through the same thing. Had we talked about it, I might not have been as terrified. And if I can save anyone from that, listen, you're going to be okay. So that was terrifying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and imagine how many other women are just like that at home, bleeding, not knowing, is this too much? Is this, not knowing
Yeah.
what's going on because they don't tell you. They just send you home. Like your
Yeah.
body will pass. You'll
Mm-hmm.
have a heavy period and then you'll be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and it's so scary. It's just something that you shouldn't have to do completely by yourself. No one should have to be going through that by themselves.
Yeah. So when did the idea of the book first come about? I know you said you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do something right away. So when
Mm-hmm.
did that kind of take shape?
Yeah, so I had been writing a blog up until this point because writing a book was always a dream of mine. Just something to inspire women, like let moms feel normal, something like that. But writing a book just seemed like way too big of something, right? So I thought, well, if I can just write blogs every week, then I'll turn them into a book. And so that's what I had been doing for like a couple years. And when I came home after learning that my baby didn't have a heartbeat, I didn't know what to do with myself. I almost felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. And I heard God, he was like, just sit down and write. And I'm like, write? Like, that seems like the last thing that I would want to do, but I did. And so I sat down and I just started writing what I was literally feeling. Like, I want to eat. I don't want to eat. I want to cry. I don't want to cry. I want to answer my phone. I don't want to look at my phone. I literally just started writing all the things out. And when I posted that and got all of those responses, I realized that it was bigger than me and that it needed to be a book. And I realized that this entire time I'd been writing blogs, it was really just setting me up for this moment and creating a platform for this to happen. And I immediately started sharing. I quick went on to Google, created a doc, said, apply if you've got a story. You don't have to be a writer, you just have to have a story. And women started coming out of the woodwork. Some that had already messaged me, others that just saw my story on Facebook and said, hey, I have a story. And what's really interesting is some women hardly knew me, but this was so important to them. They trusted me with their stories. So many of them had never told their story before to anyone. And some of the stories are from as far as like 50 years ago that have never been told before up until this book released. So the
That's
women that are,
amazing.
yeah, the women that are carrying their stories, they're incredible and so brave.
Yeah, especially, 50 years ago at a time when we really didn't talk about it. You just have to pretend like it never happened. So for them to finally have that platform and that chance to be able to share that, that has to mean, it means so much to everybody, but I think
Mhm.
that has an even deeper meaning for the older generations.
It does. And those stories, the women that shared their stories from a long time ago, they weren't sure they asked me, like, do you really think our stories should go in there? Are they really? They're old. And I was like, no, your stories, they matter. And when you read the stories from a long time ago, they are, yes, so different in so many ways, but really, Sarah, they are exactly the same. Like
Mhm.
nothing has changed. She got the same amount of support that I got. They called it different things. She was with child, or what did they say, in a family way. Like they didn't even talk about it. So, very different in that respect. But on the other hand, she left the doctor's office with the same amount of resources that I left the doctor's office with 50 years later.
Which
So,
really nothing has changed in 50 years,
right.
like
Yes.
the
Crazy.
number of losses sure hasn't changed.
Exactly, exactly. And I've learned that there are so many resources out there, but I had to dig for them. And when you're grieving and when you're, hardly able to eat and you're going through this, the last thing you want to do is be researching and, digging for resources and connections. It would have been really nice to have them handed to me or, so yeah, there are resources, and I've learned there's so many great ones, and I link them in my book because I want them to be very visible, but made they were not made, what's it called? Yeah, available. They weren't made available to me when I needed them.
Yeah, and my loss, I'm actually coming up on 8 years in
Mm,
just on March 11th. So we're like right
mm,
up on it.
yeah.
And even in 8 years, it has changed so much. I mean, I got like a small list of resources like counselors, which, by the way, I tried calling them. None of them would call me back. So I was like, well, this isn't a useful list
Uh,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
even in 8 years, so much has changed. I didn't have all of the online groups that there are, and just there's just so much now. So it is changing in a positive way, but still, yeah,
Yeah.
have a long way to go because not every doctor's office is the same.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I shared with one of the doctors at the practice that I go to, I shared my book with her and had her check it out. And she said, I think she forgot that I went to her office. And she said, oh, thank you so much for sharing. At our office, we always make sure when our moms have losses that they go home with, a kit. And I'm like, I go to your office, just so you know, I didn't go home with anything. And she had no idea, which is part of the other problem is that, they might think that these things are happening, but I know it happens all the time and I know they're busy. And unfortunately, I think sometimes they don't realize it's not happening.
That's so crazy though that she that she
Yeah.
would say that, and you're just like,
Uh,
what?
Such a disconnect. I mean, I was embarrassed for her and I was, shocked. And wow, that's great. I would have loved that.
Yeah, that would have been nice instead of just an envelope with a bill in it, but
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
has the book come out yet or it's coming out?
It has. So my loss was in June, and originally I thought, well, it would be great to have the book launch in October because that would be the month where we're doing all the remembrance things. But I was not ready in October to launch a book. I was like over excited about that. So I thought, well, what's the next best thing? And so for me, the next best thing was my due date, which was January 21st. And so instead of birthing my daughter, we birthed a book. We had our launch party on January 21st and celebrated her. And it was an amazing launch. We had the entire community there. This book is 100% community funded. Donors, private donors, businesses, you name it, they have come together to make this book happen. And so we launched it, and once we launched it and it made it out there in the world, the referrals have been insane. We've had women from across the country requesting this book, and it's in churches, mental health facilities, it's in hospitals, both in like perinatal units as well as the emergency room. It is in urgent cares. Literally everywhere that someone might be going through loss, it's there. And I've made it available for free to any woman that's in the loss, experiencing it. And then I've also made it available as a gift for friends and family to purchase. And every book, every purchase from our line, we have a whole hug line. The book is called Hug, and we have a whole line. Everything goes right back into the book so that we can keep providing them for free everywhere.
That is amazing. I mean, what an amazing way to honor your baby and your due date. And yeah, I mean, is this ever what I mean, is this what you
No,
expected would happen?
it's not at all. And that's just, it's, yeah, no, I don't even know what to say. Never. It never was something that I envisioned, but that's just the really cool thing about life is you never know and you have to be ready. And I've always been a glass half full kind of person. And I think I've always been set up to take the crappy things and turn them into something good, right? Your pain into purpose. And this was no different for me. And so, not that I expected to ever be where I am launching this huge passion project, but it's already growing. We're going to have a whole hug collection, books that are collaborative stories from women that are in all different stages of life when you might need a hug. So whether it's menopause or loss of a parent or whatever. So this is the beginning of something bigger. And each book is also meant to be for partners as well. So I don't want this only to be for the person that's experiencing the grief, but my vision is the person with the grief is going home, they're sitting on the couch with it, they take a nap, then their partner, the dad, the husband, whoever picks up the book and there's something in there for them as well. And so in the back of this book, there's a whole section for dads. There's 5 or 6 stories of dads from the Sad Dads Club. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah.
with them, but they submitted their stories and then they're incredible. So that's super important too, to honor and see the other people that are also grieving in different ways.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you have bigger plans for it. I mean, as we talked about at the beginning, so many issues that women face that we often feel so alone in, but there's so many of us going through it, all feeling alone and isolated on our own little island. And
Yeah,
then it's a way of just bringing everybody together under whatever the issue may be, specifically
exactly.
pregnancy loss in this case. But
Exactly. And the elephant, I don't know if you know about the elephant. Do you know about the elephant? This is my favorite thing. I'm always like asking people, do you know about elephants? They're amazing creatures. So our listeners have probably heard at some point the story of the female elephant tribe. It's out there, it's in all different places. But the whole idea is that female elephants, they're like the OG girl tribe. They stick with each other, they are loyal, they never leave each other's side. If a female elephant is preparing to give birth, the rest of the female elephants surround her and kick dust up so that no predators know what's going on and don't attack her. So they protect her until the baby can walk and they can all move together. If there is an injured elephant, they all stay with the injured elephant. They don't just leave her to die, they stay with her. They don't leave each other. And so you'll see in my book, there are elephants everywhere. I have the elephant poem in the front, and that's kind of like our mascot because we are a tribe of women, whether, well, not whether, nobody wants to be in the tribe of loss and grief, but knowing that you're in one is comforting. And so I have these really pretty little bracelets, little charm bracelets with an elephant on them that I've given to all the contributing authors because that's our tribe. We're in this together and you're not alone. We're just like the mama elephants. We're all in it together.
so do you think that even people who have had a loss, years ago would still benefit from reading this, or is it more for people who have newly gone through loss?
Hmm. I do. I think that no matter what stage you're in, it's really healing and really comforting. I did create the book in a way that it can be read at any stage. So if you're someone that has experienced a loss years ago, you will find stories that resonate with you. For example, the story from 50 years ago, and how she has grieved and come out on the other side. Like that will 100%, you will feel that. You will connect with that. And then if you're currently going through loss, you will feel those stories in a very different way. But after each story, for those women that love to journal, I hate journaling, but I recognize that there's a whole tribe of women that really can get down with the journal. So for you ladies, I created some reflective questions after each story and space to write, because that can be so healing. So there's something in there for you as well. Really, at any stage, you can find connection in the book.
I always like the idea of journaling, but I can't actually do it. Like I've tried and then I'm like, "Ugh, I can't do this." I'm just like, I'm too distracted. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's great, it's therapeutic, it's all the things. So you go, girls, you do it. But I'd rather just talk it out, or I don't know. But yeah, there's space in there for that. But do the biggest thing that I really hope that women feel in this book is the idea that it's okay to do whatever it is that you need to do in your healing, that we all heal differently, and that you don't need to heal in the same way that someone else healed. Just be confident in your body, in your space, in your mind, and do whatever it is that your heart's telling you to do. That's what I hope they hear.
So if people were interested in getting a copy of the book, where would they go for that?
Absolutely. So they can hop right on my website. So it's faithsparks.com. And there's a whole hug tab right in there. I'm on social media as well, and my link is in all the bios and things like that. Eventually it will be on Amazon. That's like super fun to try to do on your own. But for now, it will stay on my website. You can order directly through there. You're also able to add gift messages. If it's a gift for someone, you can leave notes of encouragement and all of that. So that's the place to go for right now.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share or add about anything?
Oh my goodness.
Very big question, but
Wow. Well, yeah, no, I think that this is also helping women that are going through miscarriage avoid those moments when people say really stupid things to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you
yeah.
know exactly what I'm saying. And anyone listening, you're like, yes, the people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, but their hearts are so good. They want to do something. And most of the time, whatever comes out ends up being either hurtful, not helpful, or really stupid. And
Yeah.
so I was like, you know what? Instead of that, just buy a book for them and mail it to them, or show up on their doorstep with a book and a muffin and let it be. So I'm really hoping that this book also takes the place for some people that don't know what to do or what to say, to offer comfort in that way as well. So sharing it in that way too could be very helpful.
Like, you have to read this.
Yes. Yes.
Don't talk to me again until you read this whole thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and about all the amazing things you're doing to help other women going through it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for all that you do as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah Elizabeth, for sharing your story with us. If today's episode resonated with you, I hope it reminded you that you should never have to walk through miscarriage or pregnancy loss feeling so alone and unsupported. If you're in that place right now, or if you've been there before, one small thing you can do is just reach out to somebody you trust, somebody you can talk to and share your story and share your experience. You deserve support in this, and you don't have to do it alone. If this conversation meant something to you, it would mean so much if you shared it with someone who might need it or left a quick review for the podcast on Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.